here's what's coming up on the Cold Podcast.
The only outlet is basically to pretty much adopt like near sociopathic tendencies, like
like not converting them to the religion, which would be probably a lot better, but they try to convert people to the red pill instead.
You can use that power to either influence people for the better good or to manipulate them into maybe doing some bad, gross things.
What's poppin', everybody?
Welcome back to the Cold Podcast.
I'm Zoe.
And I'm Steve.
And today we got a fun one. We're going to be talking about what a term Steve coined as the red pill to religion pipeline.
Yeah.
And essentially, before we kind of hop into like what that even means, you kind of got to break down and get an understanding about what the red pill is.
Yeah.
So essentially, the red pill by itself is like a term that's used on the internet that originally started as like an internet term just to describe the truth. So you all seen The Matrix before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically in the movie, it's like this ideology behind what was offered to Neo. I forget the black guy that played him in the movie that offered it to him.
Morpheus?
Morpheus, yeah. Morpheus gave him the option between the red pill and the blue pill. So the red pill is basically the idea or the concept of truth. It's like, if blue pill is like the reality we live in and the lies that we follow or deceptions that people just kind of like live by day to day, the red pill is the idea of like opening your eyes to like the truth or the reality of it, of like any situation in life. And two aspects that the red pill has largely like applied to in the online space has usually either been in politics and then the second one is dating. And so what we're going to talk about in this episode is mostly going more towards the dating realm of it, where it's like you have a lot of like red pill podcasts now. If you haven't been living under a rock, I'm pretty sure you've seen a lot of them, whether it's from Fresh and Fit or it's like influencers like a Rolo or an Andrew Tate. Those guys, kind of like are red pill creators. And we're going to be talking mostly about that and then the tie to how, if you've been keeping up with it at all, there seems to be this link between people who are do red pill content or getting into the red pill. I've now started to kind of lean more towards like religion, whether it's like becoming more Christian, more Islamic, or whatever type of religious following or guideline that they fall under.
Yeah, so like, Zoe actually used to be a little bit of a red pill acolyte. Like he's very well versed in it, but he's sort of
I studied it very intensely.
But so basically, I used to kind of, have a parade into the red pill ideology, but this is like 10 years ago before the red pill actually sort of reached the black community. Like it was mostly just a lot of white incels, honestly.
Yeah.
But really what I sort of gleaned when I was paying attention to the red pill back in the day was that the whole concept of it was a lot more superficial. It was more about manipulation. It wasn't really about, I don't know, like maybe they if they were watching this, they would call me blue pilled for even saying this.
Yeah, they call you a blue pill simp cuck.
But I think a lot of the concepts that they preach in the red pill are like, some of them are inherently true, but then other ones are more so like, okay, well, you need wealth, you need. What would be like the main tenets of red pill ideology, I guess?
Okay, so I'll break it down like this because I'll say, everyone has their own perception of it. I kind of was into it at first because traditionally it kind of started on like a good foundation where it was just kind of like talking about, pretty generalized ideas about how to tackle dating, at least from the male perspective, because in the dating realm, it's mostly, geared towards guys and kind of educating them like, on, ways to approach dating and just how to improve your life as a man in general. So those were good tenets. And then like with any type of thing that starts to really build traction, it starts to get taken over by extremists, and then you start getting like way more divergent ideologies. But I'll say just to kind of break it down a little bit more effectively, red pill attracted like a lot of guys to it from the dating realm, and it's usually two types of guys that got attracted to it. It was guys that either struggled with getting women or guys that were in the dating market that found that they were having trouble with the women they were dealing with, whether it was like cheating, not understanding women 100% to like understand how to maintain a relationship. Those were the two types of people that tend to like get drawn towards. So it had like a stigma where like you said, where it's like a lot of incels and people that don't date or get sex and stuff like
people
that
couldn't
are
get,
drawn to it.
Like people that couldn't get the respect of women almost. Who were mostly attracted to it.
Yeah, and I'd say like one of the bigger names that kind of like I think made it really mainstream in the black community, because red pill is really like black it has like a really black foundation now. Like a lot of the shows and stuff where you like black people talk about the most. And I have my own theory about why that is, but we'll say that for another time. But Kevin Samuels, I think, kind of opened the floodgates to that. And then like followed by the Fresh and Fit podcast. And then now everyone's trying to have a podcast that talks about dating. Yeah. But essentially, like I said, the two types of people that get drawn to it are those type of guys. And the reason why we're going to focus on red pill to religion is that they're drawn to it for those reasons I stated, where it's like they have trouble dating or understanding women. And there's like 3 outcomes from people that get really red pilled. The one is they'll become disillusioned with the idea of like the Western world or like Western women. And so those guys tend to believe that, you know, dating in the West is not worth it, and they'll become what they call passport bros, and so they'll move out. So that's like a subsection of like that type of pipeline of, you know, I became red pilled. I don't like, you know, the West and all the ideologies and feminism are ruining, you know, we're like the Western world. I'm going to leave and try to do dating somewhere else. The second tier is what I call the, you know, Miami guy, where it's like, you know, you basically just internalize it. You realize like dating's hard. There's a lot of like tenets and stuff like that basically make it, you know, you basically have to apply into dating. You can't just be a nice guy. So it's just like, okay, well, if all that's true and the only outlet is basically to pretty much adopt like near sociopathic tendencies, like be extremely selfish, aggressive with women, unapologetic. If you got to basically, you know, a semi-narcissist, like if that's the only way that you can basically like get everything you want out of like Western dating, then they'll go that route. And they kind of, like I said, become the guy that wears sunglasses indoors and wear open button shirts.
I think of that. I think of that category of red pill guy as like the Jersey douche. You know? Like a guy with greased up hair, big pecs, and you know he's tan. He goes gym tan laundry. You know, he does the whole thing.
Yeah, literally. So that's like the alternative. I think you see a lot more of that rhetoric a lot where it's like, you know, if you're not trying to leave the country, adapt to the dating market and just, like I said, just get ripped, make a lot of money, you know, sell crypto or, you know, buy real estate, be that guy.
Do drop shipping.
Yeah, do drop shipping and, you know, buy more open button shirts and you'll be fine. And then there's what we're going to be focusing on, the phenomenon of the red pill to religion pipeline. So it's like if you're not the guy that's like, I'm going to leave, if you're not the guy that wants to assimilate to the dating market, you pretty much have one option left, which is, can you assimilate the dating market to you? So a lot of red pill ideology is founded in a lot of traditionalized ideals. So it's just like, you know, that's why a lot of conservatives kind of latched onto it until it became extreme. And you'll notice a lot of red pill people tend to be very conservative minded. So essentially, they're just kind of like, well, I think, you know, Western dating should go back to a more traditional foundation of being like women should be indoors. They shouldn't be, you know, having what you would call like
they gotta cover up.
Yeah, cover up. Don't be promiscuous. You know, the what do you call like the like sex craze? Like I don't know.
They shouldn't be what is it? Hypergamous.
Or polyamorous or whatever.
Yeah.
Hypergamy is like the idea of like women date up a social ladder, but. Yeah, it's like they want to get rid of the whole like the overly sexualized like dating market, and they want people to be more traditional. And so that's the red pill, and I think that leads people to become religions, because if you already believe in traditional values and you are like, well, I think women need to go back to being traditional so that I can be a traditional guy. That's kind of where they like kind of lead that to. And I think that inevitably is always going to go back to religion, because you're going to need to justify the foundation. And I think religion has always been a good selling point for a lot of people. So like in the Whatever podcast, or like how Andrew Tate or Sneeko have become Muslim now, it all started by them wanting to like, you know, oh, you know, I think women are, you know, basically like very promiscuous now. And so it's like we went back to old traditional ways, things would be better. And then with that ideology eventually conforming to like, you know, the idea of like, well, if I'm a traditional man, so I expect X, Y, Z, then they try to sell that off or pawn that ideology off to like, you know, the dating market. So it's like women need to be traditional. If you're a Christian man, that means, you know, relying heavily on your Christian values, or, you know, adopting a religion that's more extreme, which, like I said, that's what we see a lot, the rise of Islam in the whole community, because that's like a more radical traditionalized idea. And I think that a lot of these guys kind of like latch onto it because it sounds like,
for someone who's like, sorry to cut you off. Sorry. For someone who's like the narcissistic,
narcissistic.
Saying the word wrong. So someone that's narcissistic, it's like, you know, why not be in a situation where you have like the ultimate level of control over the women almost?
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it. And I think a lot of it's like it's less about really being religious. I think a lot of it is just trying to like a strategy to optimize like your control in a relationship. And I think if you could convince a lot of like girls to, you know, adopt Western views that basically go back to the idea that the man has most of the power and leverage, that sounds appealing to a lot of people, especially like I said with the Islamic thing where it's like I can have multiple wives and I kind of control what they do. I think that's very provocative, and I think that's why a lot of people have latched on to the religious view in the red pill now.
It makes sense though, because if you want someone that's traditional, if you're looking for tradition, it makes sense to go to the oldest traditions in existence, religions.
They've stood the test of time for a reason. You know, it's always something that like it's so founded, it's so like grounded, and like it has such a foundational backing that it's like, it's like one of those things that like it's you can never really defeat it, because at the end of the day, it's like you can always go back to like it works because it's always worked, and that it makes sense because, you know, essentially if everyone just adopted and believed it, it would work, like that type of thing. So I think that's why it's like a very simple, infallible, and justifiable way to get people on board with an ideology.
Yeah, and part of what I believe is that, you know, I think that, for one, there was probably never really a time in human history where there was no level of religion, you know? Like, there was always some element of religion, and we made it to today, you know? Like, I feel like one of the driving factors of human prosperity and human growth has been religion. You know, I'm not going to just claim it all on my religion, but I think that human prosperity comes from religion. So there's a lot of good parts of it, but then there's also parts that can be sort of manipulated and abused, like in a red pill sort of context.
Yeah. No, Steve, do you keep like how in depth do you keep up? I guess with like certain red pill topics. Like you, have you seen? Do you keep up with it, or do you like catch a little bit of like the news and like certain glimpses of like what these certain creators have done?
So yeah, like I've never really been involved in red pill content, but what I really like is I like watching like Christian perspectives on red pill people.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'll watch like
like Ben Shapiro.
No, Ben Shapiro's a Jew.
Yeah, you're right.
For one, he's Jewish.
Okay,
but no, I'll watch like this guy Ruslan KD.
Matt Walsh would be a better example.
Yeah, or Matt Walsh. Yeah, so Matt Walsh will react to like some red pill nonsense. You know, I like seeing like their reaction to it. Yeah. Because like I like the context sort of being applied, but I do kind of want to see it. I like seeing people like sort of just debate with Sneeko and you know, point out the fact that, you know, Sneeko really. This kind of ties back into the whole, like, you know, people choosing Islam because it offers the highest level of control over the woman. I think people like Sneeko, like, they had their whole red pill sort of period, but now they're pushing more towards, like, okay, well, how can I use this newfound religion as a means of growing my audience, for one, and two, teaching people, like basically like converting people to the red pill, like not converting them to the religion, which would be probably a lot better, but they try to convert people to the red pill instead, you know?
Well, what's interesting is that like a lot of the people, like if you know, like Andrew Tate's kind of like renounced the red pill after he switched to Islamic. You have Sneeko's kind of been like back and forth with kind of what he says, because he's trying to really like, you know, get into this Muslim ideology. And I noticed that like once people have like gone a certain route, it's like, especially the religion route, they start pushing that over the red pill itself. It's like even the Whatever podcast, their thing is they have a lot of Christian. They're like Fresh and Fit, but with Christian undertones.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, and it's like they'll lean on red pill, but they'll always like when they're trying to push the idea, they're not trying to push red pill. They're trying to push Christian values. My question is, do you think, like with a lot of this rise of like, you know, going towards religion in order to like reinstate traditional values, do you think it's genuine, like these people actually want to follow all aspects of that religion, or you think it's just about like trying to gain more control over women? What do you think?
No, I don't think that any of them, maybe there's a few, maybe I'll say 5% of them actually want to have a faithful relationship with their, you know, higher power. But a lot of them are either using it for clout, they're using it for like immediate financial gain. They're using it for not just clout, but what would it be, like
influence?
Influence, power. They want power. They want influence. They want to be able to affect people's lives and their viewpoints. They want to be able to change someone's mind on something. And I think that even apart from the red pill, there's a lot of people that seek religion for that specific purpose, like outside of red pill ideology. So I think the red pill is like just that entry point to the pipeline. But if you have someone who's a narcissistic manipulator, they'll see religions as a way to manipulate people. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same way where, you know, people, one of the biggest things is like, that thing that the Catholic Church does sometimes that I don't want to say specifically, but Catholic priests do some bad stuff sometimes. But I think it's like the same sort of argument where it's like those people are already manipulators and bad people that do bad things to children.
Yeah.
So they get into a position where they have the power to manipulate people. So that's like it's the same. I think it's the same thing. These people want to just be in a position where they can manipulate women.
Yeah, it's like they want to have a leverage point over women.
Exactly.
Shame. Yeah. Okay.
And it's like you can use things like a lot of people that are atheists or whatever, they say like, oh, I just always felt so ashamed when people told me I had to obey God and there are all these rules and things like that. But they can manipulate that shame. Like because obviously God doesn't want you to feel ashamed, but some people end up feeling shame because of the people they interact with. So if someone feels like ashamed for not, I guess, pursuing themselves or being who they want to be as a woman or whatever, and Sneeko shows up and says, well, God said you got to cover up. God
said you gotta cover up. He just comes in the back door. Hey,
what are you doing with that tank top on? You got to cover up.
Yeah, take that off.
Yeah, then it's like, okay, well, Sneeko is able to exercise control over somebody, so I think he's just a manipulator and a narcissist also.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people are.
He's got a lot of beef going on. You ready? You want to join in on that beef? You're gonna
Yeah, sure. Hey, Sneeko, what's up?
Yeah,
bro?
Call him out.
Yeah, I'm calling you out, man.
Hey, let's open it up. I think we like kind of disseminated what the topic is pretty well and gave everyone a decent understanding. So, Leezy, let me ask you, what are your thoughts, and we'll pass it to Roosevelt afterwards. What are your thoughts on the red pill, and do you think the religious aspect that seemed to has popped up in it is genuine, or do you think there's like alternative motives to like these high religious cues that have like started to protrude into like the manosphere?
Right. Well, you mentioned a pretty good point, Stephen, when you talked about power. I think that because, like you said, religion is one of the oldest both powers and like societal structures that we have as humans, it's like, what better medium can you pick to exercise your own power and to, control people? So through that system, it's they're very like highly interconnected. So if you have a lot of power within a religious community, like you said, as a priest, you can use that power to either influence people for the better good or to manipulate them into maybe doing some bad, gross things to other people.
Imagine
so
like a red pill priest.
You use that power to amplify your own desires, and it becomes whatever you want it to become. So I think, like you said, the red pill is more so kind of aimed at grasping for that power.
Mm-hmm.
They want to use that power for whatever means, and right now it just seems like those means are based on either pushing a political narrative. There's a lot of political narratives involved in the red pill, and just trying to get their point across. People want, like, there's so many people that just want their voice to be like heard, and they want that power, that authority. Like, what I'm saying is correct.
Right.
These are my views. These views are completely correct. The other people are completely incorrect.
Right. There's
and
no
you should
nuance.
Only listen to me.
There's not a little bit of nuance.
Yeah.
I'm right. You're wrong.
It's
Get
no
in
in
the
between.
kitchen.
I'm right and they're wrong. There's no in between. Don't question it.
Yeah.
That's where I think things are kind of leaning to.
Yeah, I think the red pill is like the ultimate expression of that. Like, I'm right, you're wrong.
You're right.
Like the red pill is like the ultimate way to put that.
I can see that. I got my own. I'll give like a kind of a more or less closing about like my view on it. But like I said, because I spend a lot of time explaining it, so I want to get you guys' opinion first.
Yeah.
What about you, Roosevelt? I'll restate it. What are your thoughts on the red pill, and then do you think the religious aspect to it is genuine, or do you think it's got like some alternative motivations to why it's there?
I think that is genuine.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the red pill? You like it or not?
Yeah.
Would you use the red pill to get what you want? Like, if you want to be somebody that wants to, have multiple women or whatever, but you want it to be morally correct.
Yeah.
Would you be like, okay, I'm about to adopt this religion, and things will be okay. Nobody can judge me.
Yeah, I'd
Would you
probably
be that
take that red pill.
He's taking
You
a red
would?
pill.
Yeah.
This man wants his leverage. He wants to. I get it.
At least you're being honest about it. Shit.
Yeah. No, my thing is, I'm not gonna like be a hypocrite. Like I liked the red pill like when it first was introduced. Like I enjoyed like some of the creators and stuff, because for me it was kind of like because a lot of the red pill was kind of inspired by this whole like there really wasn't like a sphere or like a talk show for men. So like when you had Kevin Samuels or Fresh and Fit, it's like most TV and even like, a lot of male creators like what's his freaking name? Steve Harvey and stuff like that. A lot of them pander to women, or like even if you go on like old shows like a Steve Wilkos show, where it's like when it's like they always have like domestic disputes. Everything was always kind of geared towards in favor of the women. Like the man's always the problem and stuff like that. And if you're a guy that's trying to grow up and do the right thing, a lot of times you never really feel like there's an outlet to kind of express like what the things that you may be struggling with. And there's like there's always there's always this under sentiment that like the man was always in the wrong. And I feel like in the black community, there seems to like been a lot of discourse between like men and women a lot, because whether it's like the problem that's always been said about how black men behave and how we're not around, or the fact that the women, are out of order, it's like, I think like it hits our community a lot, which is why I think it's kind of grown a lot in our community. But I found value in it because, one, it started off with like, pretty decent morals and just kind of highlighting certain things, or like, within dating that like from the man perspective that like are falsehoods or things that we weren't necessarily told. Like it's like, hey, did you know like a certain level of manipulation is needed as a man in a relationship with a woman? Because like, just always being nice, always being understanding isn't always necessarily attractive. Like those things that like kind of give you that extra like information and being like, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I can look back on a relationship and see how that might have screwed me over. I think it gave you some details like that were useful. And then just general stuff like, you have to like, hey, work out, like the money, like having a job or seeming productive is important in your perception. I think those were good messages. And I think a lot of people could learn from it. I think where it started to go off the rails a little bit to where it's like, I view it now as like it's kind of a grocery store. Like take what you need and leave what you do, and leave what isn't important. Because then you have like an extreme level where it's like it's either gone into religion to where it's like I feel like there's a level of disingenuousness to it, because some people are really just utilizing that because they just want to like leverage women to like be more submissive to them. It's not like, because it's like it's like I'm a Christian or I'm Islamic, but it's like you don't pray every day, you don't do fasting, you don't celebrate Lent, you don't actually go to church. It's like you're just utilizing that in this specific aspect because it benefits you, and that's not authentic. And I think a lot of people are doing that, so I don't necessarily agree with that side, and I kind of see it for what it really is. And then there's the extreme part where it's like you take the ideologies and put it to the extreme to where I feel like there has to be some compromise where it's like, well, listen, you can live like that, but I don't think that's something that you can necessarily push to most people. Like, not everyone's going to be a millionaire. Not everyone's going to be like, I want multiple wives. Because even though that sounds great, it's like, it's one of those things that's not, it's like most people can't even get one. So like, let's see.
And if you don't fall into those categories of what the expectation is, like, oh, you're a high value man, all these other things. It's like, well, you deserve nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
You get no wife.
Yeah,
you're going to be alone forever because you don't go to the gym.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, come on. Like, like even, me, I'm 300 pounds. I have some options. Right? There's an option that exists for me. Right? But it's like I could lose weight and be a high value man and make a lot of money and get like a supermodel or something one day. Yeah. But it's like that's not everyone's objective.
No, and that's the thing. It's like it's kind of teetered to this all or nothing approach where it's like unless you're a high value man making like $100,000 a year. And like if you get a wife, you shouldn't live with her. If she goes outside, she's single. It's like that extreme level of stuff to where it's just like I don't think everyone necessarily has to live like that. I think it's like that's fine if you want to do it, but like I said, there's like a lot more attainable goals I think people should focus on. Like one, get a regular relationship and apply the tactics to like maintain that one before you focus on like now to try to get 4 side chicks, or like if you decide to get married, and stuff like that, you don't have to not live with your wife and live with your guys because living with your wife is gonna make you weak. It's like it's like that stuff. I'm like you can have that.
I've never heard that one. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a lot of like I said that extreme ideology. So it's like I don't think that's necessary. I don't think you have to do that. I can say there's an argument for it because it's just taking like the same concept and pushing it to like an extreme. But anytime you operate on extremes, you're kind of like missing a certain aspect. I think everything requires some level of compromise to like strike equilibrium because everything's based off balance.
I like that because you miss. Yeah, the further extreme you go, you kind of alienate some people that you were formerly, had. Mm-hmm. But you also get, obviously crazier. You get a little bit crazier.
You're just become. I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off.
go ahead.
Yeah, because when you do that, you're just becoming like the counter to what you were fighting. It's like if red pill is a counter to feminism because feminism become extreme, you know, you can't answer that by basically just being like, well, I'm going to take the opposite approach to its extreme.
Right.
You know, because then it's like, then, you know, you're creating like a disenfranchisement for that other side. It's like feminism is about equality. And we're like, well, it's not equal because a lot of, you know, feminists have, you know, taken it to the extreme to where men can do no wrong.
Right.
You know, but then with the extreme red pill ideology, it's like you're taking it to the extreme to where women have no say.
Women do everything wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
they do everything wrong.
Yeah.
If they go out at all, you know, they're probably trying to cheat on you, so you got to keep them inside.
Yeah,
you know, you shouldn't live with them. It's like it's the same concept, but to another extreme.
It's like an ideology of fear, almost. It's like you become just in a stagnant state of fear. And it's actually funny to juxtapose like the red pill with religion, because with religion, you can take that to an extreme as well, right? You can start manipulating the Bible. You can start manipulating the Quran. You can start taking things out of context to use it against people.
Yeah.
Rather than using it as a solution that is just, you know, meant to help people, as most religions are, people can take it and say, well, okay, since they...
King Solomon had multiple wives.
Right.
Yeah. So I should too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, are you the wisest man in the world?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, I don't know about that. Are you the king of Israel? I don't think so. So, you know, it's just like people will try to manipulate whatever they can as long as they're not actually within like a good, like, I guess the word would be like a substrate. Like they don't have a good substrate of ideas that sort of found their entire personality, like they're not personality, but their worldview.
Yeah, ideology.
Yeah, ideology. Yeah. So if they're like in this weird sort of limbo where they don't really have the ability to make better better moral choices, then they will be immoral. And that's what I think is weird. Where it's like, I always believed that people will have a religion regardless of if they're religious. They'll praise they will worship something, and I feel like the red pill almost became a religion. Yeah, you know, like, and not even almost, like it kind of is for some people like a religion, where it's like, you know, people are like devoutly red pill.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. Like I think, you know, and I think that's anything. Like it, when people feel lost, I think everyone needs something to latch onto, and a lot of times religion takes the place. But when you don't have that, you know, you take something else. I think red pill became that because they just want answers. And I think red pill is like, it was constructed to give you an answer. It's like, why am I failing the dating market? Red pill answers that. Right. You know, it's like, why did I get so screwed over in my last marriage? You know, red pill gives you the answer to that. It like answers those questions. Even politically, it's like, you know, because it's just based on conservative values. Yeah. It even gives you a political component. So it's like, who should I vote for? Red pill gives you an answer.
Why am I paying so many taxes? Right? Why is there LGBT in the school? It's just like, well, the red pill has an answer for you here, but you're not gonna, you know. There's a hole in it. I just think that with the red pill, there's a hole in it, and we can probably close soon. I think that just when you are looking at the red pill as an ideology, it doesn't hold a candle to religion, personally. I just don't think it does. I think it's like, it'll last for a while, but it'll eventually wear off. It doesn't have the staying power because it's not fully founded on anything.
You think that pretty much you can take the red pill out and just lean on religion, essentially? Yeah,
I do, and I think that that's probably the goal. Like, I mean, here's my little Christian perspective. I think that the whole movement is inspired by God. So
why not become Islamic, Steve?
Why not become Islamic? There's a lot of reasons not to.
Oh God!
You know, I'm just like, it seems like that seems to be like one of the jumps that a lot of the red pill people. So I'm like, why not go that route?
Well, so here's my thing. I think Islam leads to Christ, but
okay. Well, they do share the book, but I know you have, like I said, you have your own devout to one side. So you know, but no, you know, like I said, that was kind of my take with it. Like I said, I hope you guys had at least got a better understanding of red pill and can, you know, got a little deeper insight to what we meant by the religion pipeline. And if it starts popping up in your feed, you're a little bit more informed as to like what kind of content you're watching.
Yeah, but just watch our content instead.
Yeah, forget them. We're doing better.
Yeah, so all right, guys, let's close it out. Make sure you follow us on social media at Cold Popcast, and you can find the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Rumble, and Patreon. And if you do subscribe on Patreon, you can just get all of the content early for $5 a month, and you can get all of the backlog of the My Black Friends podcast that we used to do. It's hilarious, and we will be doing more episodes, so you can get new episodes. So thanks for popping in, and we got to pop out.
All right.